Hey guys, so for today's final vlog of the class, I decided to watch the 1960 horror classic Psycho, directed by the cinematic genius Alfred Hitchcock, and is headlined by Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles. What a film. Just straight up, what a film. You can clearly see its influence on culture today. It started that slasher genre that some of us has come to know and love throughout time. Even then, like for the 60s, this was kind of that start of being a little more edgy, a little more suggestive in the cinema. And obviously, like, we watch films today where they really don't give a crap. They kind of show whatever. So I'm really excited to talk about this film. So Act 1 begins, we meet our girl, Marion, and she basically gets entrusted with $40,000 cash, and she flees town. That's basically the all setup of Act 1. We meet Sam Loomis, who we see again later in the film. And then Act 2, we meet Norman Bates, his mother. We go to the Bates Motel. And basically at the end of Act 2, a girl gets stabbed in the shower, and that scene, so iconic. I've seen it just in general, just over time, no idea it was from this film. And then in Act 3, it's basically Marion's sister and Sam Loomis. They go to the Bates Motel, and then they discover that Norman Bates' mom, who supposedly killed, at least from what we saw in that scene, who killed our girl Marion, is actually Norman Bates. And the mom is just a mummified corpse. Like, plot twist, like, was not expecting that. And basically at the end of the day, or at the end of the film, we just see Norman sitting in a jail cell, and just everything before that is just irrelevant. It's crazy. I love it. I think it's fantastic. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the editing style. So the master scene technique, obviously we see I talked about it a little bit before, we see that in the first scene of the film, where it's Sam Loomis and Marion talking about the financial problems and how they want to get away from each other. And then for the intercutting, I want to talk about that scene where Norman Bates kills Marion. That is just a masterclass in intercutting, where, we're getting close-ups of the mother, and we're getting close-ups of her screaming. We're getting close-ups of the shower, and then it's just a cutting, and we never see her, like, actually stab her, really, anything like that, because, regulations probably at the time, but it was just a beautiful use of intercutting throughout that film. And then just after the murder, they have this juxtaposition where it's just a shot of her lifeless eyes after the aftermath of the crime, and it ends with the blood down the drain. And oh my gosh, what a shot. Like, what a shot. Next, I'm going to talk about a long take that maybe not a lot of people kind of caught on to, but I thought it was very important in the grand scheme of things, was when Marion and Norman are in that parlor of the Bates Motel, and Norman is talking about his life and a relationship with his mother. And this uninterrupted shot kind of builds suspense to an extent, and also allows, like, that character interaction to unfold naturally. And, like, to an extent, we're meant to kind of believe Norman and be like, oh, he has an effed up life. Like, okay, like, maybe he's just misunderstood, kind of thing. And it's very interesting. And Alfred Hitchcock, obviously, he's a film genius, and I think he uses the rule of thirds phenomenally throughout this film. That's just how he composes it. A lot of his shots, just kind of balancing the elements with just the frame to just make it visually appealing for the audience, and just honestly balance composition of the film from its entirety. And for example, like when Marion's driving her car through the rainstorm, and the way the horizon is and the road is placed around the rule of thirds line, we're just able to see just, like, the vastness of that the road and what's ahead of her, and kind of just amplifies Marion's isolation. And I think that was really unique, and I thought that was really cool. Also, the composition in general, Hitchcock decided that he wanted this film to be in black and white, just so he's able to have certain gory elements throughout this film, because obviously for audiences 1960, probably seeing blood in that shower would have been really traumatizing, and also to keep the budget to a little minimum. But I think that this black and white, how he uses it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the lighting next, but the way he uses it is just so genius, and it's just filmmaking perfection. So I feel like a lot of times in this film, when we use the hard lighting, it's used on Norman Bates, especially when he is conversating with Marion, and it kind of just, like anything with hard lighting, it just adds eerie, especially in horror films. It adds that eeriness and mysterious kind of atmosphere to the entire film. And then with soft lighting, this is for the most part used. I feel like it was used a lot with Marion Crane, and just makes it just contrasts with the darkness of Norman Bates and the lightness of Marion, especially in the beginning parts of the movie when they're going back and forth. I think that's just genius filmmaking, and honestly, to a certain extent, foreshadowing the actual twist at the end of the film. And then obviously, and then going into the lighting ratio, like in the shower scene, right? It's the way he uses lights and darks when Norman Bates' mother is stabbing her, it's very dark. And when we see Marion, it's very light. And obviously that's purposeful. We can't really see the mother's face. And obviously there's a reason behind that. It's freaking Norman Bates. And I just thought that was just a genius way of filmmaking, obviously hiding from us that it is actually Norman Bates. And then it's with backlight, especially there's that scene with Norman. He's standing in that doorway of the Bates Motel, and they use a backlight to enhance his silhouette, and whoa, what a shot. Okay, I thought that was really cool as well. And additionally, with some bottom, this film is a masterclass in lighting. Okay, some bottom lighting that was used is when he's walking down the stairs into that cellar of the Bates house. It just makes him look so sinister, and it is so unsettling. And it just really creeped me out. Like, this film legit creeped me out, and I just could not believe that a film from the 60s, especially given horror films today, would creep me out the way it did. I thought that was really cool. All in all, Psycho, what a film. Did not disappoint, lived up to the hype. Probably one of the best horror movies ever. I mean, you have like modern horror and all that, but this set that precedent. This is kind of what everything horror is based off of. Like, I know I watched Bride of Frankenstein, and you see certain like gothic elements, but it was never really like horror per se. It was more just like creepy eeriness. No, this is legit horror, and that is awesome. And I actually adore this film, and I cannot wait to give it another watch one of these days. So 5 out of 5. That was fantastic. Yeah, so peace out.